Hi everyone, it's Marquet here, Lemon Creation, with new series of ATC with water embossing. I've been experimenting lately with some color mixing and I'm using for that a piece of acetate or piece of packaging basically, and some watercolors markers. Those are coming from Action, from the shop which we have here in Europe. But basically they are very cheap watercolor markers, and I know for a fact you can do the same or very similar effects with some school markers. So you don't have to have really watercolor markers. So basically what I'm doing is I'm adding 1 or 2 colors on the piece of acetate and I am spraying it very lightly with water. And I keep on repeating that you have to spray lightly with water, because if you add too much water, you're gonna have drops which are gonna fall onto the paper. So just a little bit, and Mini Mister is really helpful for that. And here I sprayed a little bit too much, so you've seen the drops which were falling onto the paper. But what I was saying, the Mini Mister is very helpful for that, because it gives me just a tiny bit of water. But you of course can add a little bit, like drops of water with your brush, so you don't really need to have a Mini Mister. And if you see that your paper is still wet, you don't even have to wet the acetate. You just can do a kind of a funny grungy lines, which you can see here on the teal portion of the coloring. And so basically that's what I'm doing. It's a super cool way to mix up some colors and to find very nice color combinations. And in a second I'm gonna show you the ones I've done outside of this video, because I done them before and then I decided to make a video to show you how I'm doing them and use them to create some ATC cards, because I ran out of ATC cards and I'm trying to put ATC cards with some of the orders you are placing in my shop. And so look at that, guys. Those are the trials I made. There are some good ones, but there are also some which I don't like that much. The very good ones, the 2 which you can see in the corner there, I'm not gonna actually use for this video. I'm gonna keep it for some other project, because I really do like them, and I wanted to do something extra, not something different rather, not really ATCs. But with what I have, I can still make really nice ATCs. I'm trying to get the best part of the coloring on the ATC, so you've seen me cutting it a little from every single side, and then I ink the edges with Archival ink. I like Archival ink because it's permanent and it dries very quickly, so this is super cool, especially that my Archival ink is very old, so I don't mind using it on the edges of the cards. For stamping though, I prefer VersaFine Onyx Black. It's drying much longer, and if you want to work a lot with the cards, it's better to actually dry them with the heat gun instead of waiting until it dries. And it gives more intricate imprint. And I am now working with my stamps. This one is Spinal. It's one of my newest stamps, and I haven't used all of the stamps still in this set, so I'm trying. And as you can see, I am aiming for the images which are like partially printed onto the card and in different places, and I want to leave the nicest part, the nicest coloring still visible. And the second set of stamp I'm gonna be using, it's the stamp called In the Background. It's also mine. You gonna have, of course, as always, the link to my shop in the description below. I'll be very happy if you have a look at what I have in the shop. I'm a tiny bit out of stock on some of the products. And there is quite a long wait because the production slots are very long at the moment when I'm speaking about it, and it's summer. So that's why everybody is on holidays and it takes some time, but other than that, those stamps which I'm using right now, they are actually in the shop. And I'm gonna be adding a tiny bit of washi tape. This is washi tape from the washi tape shop. I'm gonna provide you a link to the washi tape shop in the description also, and it's affiliate link, but you can get a discount using the code which is given there. And so basically I just wanted to add a little bit of more interest to the page. I wanted the things to be happening, not to the page, to the ATC cards. So yes, there is a lot of working around the colors. Still wanted to leave the colors as they are because I find them really nice. Some of them are really lovely, like this one which I'm doing right now. And I don't know if you've noticed, probably you couldn't notice, but I cut my cards, the white ones, a little bit, how do you call it, little bit smaller than the ATC size, because I have these black backgrounds which I wanted to place underneath them. I do that very often. They are more sturdy like that, and I like just the end effect. And as you've seen, I used the stapler to make a kind of cross signs, and I'm gonna be using now water, as you've seen, and the embossing powder from Lindy's gang. This one is called a chip of the old or from the old block. Once again, the list of products is gonna be given to you in the description box below. So basically what I'm doing, because this is the funny part, is that I am sprinkling or spraying water onto the cards. And then I'm adding the embossing powder, and you can do it with any embossing powder. You just have to work fast because water dries quickly, and it's, of course, the water is not a glue, so it's not holding the embossing powder as well as the glue does. But this technique is super cool for splatter, embossed splatter, because let's be honest, what can you do, or how can you do otherwise embossing splatter? This is super cool. Unless you have very liquid glue, then yes, you can try, but otherwise this is really cool technique. And the thing about this technique is that you have to start drying it on the low setting of the heat gun and from underneath the paper. If you put or aim the heat gun straight on the proper size, on the right size of the paper, and even on the low setting, the powder is gonna fly away. So basically what you need to do is heat it from underneath to make the powder adhere as much as possible and melt as much as possible to the water. And then when it's already a little bit wet, like a little bit warm even, then you can attack it from the right hand side. And look at that, guys. And this embossing powder in particular, it's very hard to work with water, and look at the effect it gave me. It's very hard to work with water because the particles in this powder are quite thick, and this technique works the best with the thin embossing powders. But look at that, still the effect is beautiful. I didn't even expect that it's gonna adhere so well, and it did. And for the focal points, I'm gonna be using die cuts from Paper Roast. This is the company, Australian company I worked with as a DT at some point. I think it was over a year ago. I don't work for them anymore, but I still absolutely love their products. So they are based in Australia, and they have a lot of stamps and stencils and die cuts, and I just love them. And so I was hesitating what kind of die cuts I should put. So as you can see, I was firstly aiming for the numbers, like you see this 93 there, but at the end I decided against it, and I made kind of like circular shapes or like funky shapes, and you're gonna see all of it on the photos or at the end of the video. But basically it's really fun to work with their die cuts. I have them usually when I use my die cutting machine. I usually do them in black and white, because I never know which color will go where with my projects. But you can always paint or add black paint to the white die cut. Or what I'm doing is I use actually Archival ink, and I just color the white die into black with Archival ink. So wherever speaks to you, you can do wherever speaks to you, but look at that, they're so beautiful. I really, really love the die cuts from Paperos. So basically that's it for the die cuts. I'm gonna leave you quietly for a moment, and you can see what kind of dies I used. Once again, the description, the products, or the products rather, will be given to you in the description box below. So as you've seen, I was using the Tacky glue because it has this kind of fine applicator tip, which is super cool for very, very you know, intricate dies. And I'm gonna add super messy words and really silly words. Those are words from my collection. And I actually decided to add a little bit of interest, more interest to the ATCs, to raise them up a little bit. So I'm using 3D foam tape. And there they are. The beautiful cards. I don't know if you've noticed, but at some point I ran out of staples I think, and one of the cards is actually glued instead of stapled, but when I buy the staples tomorrow, I'm gonna just change it. I'm gonna add the staples because I really like this idea, and I think they work really well with the embossing powder from Lindy's, which is giving this metal effect also. So, you know, I have a small metal accent, and I decided to use kind of a funky words, like funky, not especially funky, but, you know, a little bit aloof. I'm not sure what's the word, what's the proper word is, but I do really love it. It's kind of my style. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope for those of you who didn't know about this technique, I gave you some ideas, and I really hope I'm gonna see you in my next video. Please, as always, subscribe, hit the notification button, and I wish you a beautiful day, crafty or not, but beautiful. See you soon. Bye bye.